Fun's most played, and actually where they found a lot of success in those early stages is having Fun act as this engage tool or secondary engage tool alongside some of the members of eStar. So I wanted to see if we maybe get the Volibear left open, but when they're on red side here, I assume they're just gonna, oh no. Okay, so Volibear will be left open. This will be picked up by EDG straight off the bat. I assume they'd still ban the Volibear, but Twisted Fate, higher priority here.
Yeah, Twisted Fate banned away, as was the Galio. Xiaoshun locking in a mere shadow. I guess we'll find out what he locked in a minute. Maybe it's Yone.
I imagine it's Volibear.
Yone's not available.
Yeah.
Just that was a joke. But
I'm just gonna go out on a limb and say it's Volibear, but high priority has been. We'll look over and see what they find on the opposite side. Graves potentially locked in for Wei. It's been his most played as well, but also could look to potentially move in towards the Lee Sin that we've seen a little bit more from him. But no, going to be the Graves. Imagine AD carry here as well. Potentially Ashe is up and available, and we often see the Ashe paired particularly well with this Graves, unless that's an Ashe first pick. I still don't know.
Could have been. Could have been. I guess all we could do is speculate here on the official broadcast of this draft.
Okay, it wasn't
an Ashe.
So I think it's Volibear, Ashe, and then we've got Graves and Karma on the other ones.
I think you're right.
I imagine, so then looking here, trying to lock in some sort of support, I think would be your best bet here, unless they want to go towards something like the Azir maybe, or something for Scout, try and get something strong for himself, especially when you got Zoe, Syndra, and a lot of these picks already banned away. He's also a pretty proficient LeBlanc player, but looks like it might be the Azir. Yeah.
So Azir going to be locked in here for Scout in the mid lane. This is something that we've not seen much of this split. We've seen it 3 times from him. But when you think back to spring, Scout was all over the Azir. He was playing it every other game. So good to see him going back to some comfort here for potentially his final game of the entire split.
And the reason I was talking about the Azir coming out is because when you see the likes of Graves, pretty short range, needs to get into the mix. You see the Karma as well. Karma tends to be paired with these shorter range or like melee engages because you want to be able to reset the fight and shove back Renekton's and Volibears and everything else that comes your way. But this time around, it looks like Fun's happy to go towards the cast, and he's like, walls? What are they?
Yeah, Fun doesn't believe in walls, which has been a real problem for him most of his life, especially, you know, you see toddlers bumping into walls, and that's kind of acceptable, but once you get to like 13, 14,
It's just embarrassing.
it starts to become an issue. But Kassadin helps him get past that. As we move to the bans here, Bard going to be taken off the board. EDG have to decide where they want to go with this one. They could focus down on AD carries once again. They've already got their Ashe. They could just try and remove Wing from the equation.
I think that could be your best bet here. I mean, we already said, hey, look, something like an Ezreal we saw banned away in the last one. And if you look at the rest of his most played, I mean, you see that the Aphelios is there. We talked about the Kalista, maybe. But I think honestly, when you look towards eStar's comp, they just want, again, maybe something even like the Senna could work for Wink here. Because it's just a case of, hey, look, I'm going to enable this Graves. I'm going to enable the Kassadin. So I'd actually probably ban away the Senna here.
You could even ban Thresh, right? Just ruin some of the setup from Xiaoxi, get rid of his most comfortable pick as well. Especially since eStar banned a couple of supports themselves, you could just try and even that up a little bit. We'll have to wait and see what they are going to go for in the last 12 seconds here.
Well, either way, when we look at EDG, you're still looking to lock in I'm still assuming that's Volibear that Xiaosheng has locked in. So I think you're still looking for support for yourself, and you're going to have to find out where that Volibear pick is going to go. I imagine it is for JJ in that jungle. So Xiaosheng would love to try and get a counter pick here, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think he still will have to go in blind. And when you've got the likes of the Ornn band away, he's often just tended back towards something like the Renekton or something along these lines, which will be pretty well enabled here by the likes of this Kassadin and everything else.
So I've just had confirmed from production, it is a Volibear for the first pick, so the speculation was correct there. Wink is going to go with this Varus, which we're anticipating will be the on-hit Varus, that lethal tempo attack speed version, which we are now looking at a very late game centered composition from eStar, which is kind of opposite to their recent identity in the LPL.
Well, the thing is, if you actually think about the composition that they won the game against Top Esports, it was pretty late game scaling. Caitlyn, Karthus, but they were like, do you know what? We want to kill you now anyway. So eStar don't really care what their comp wants to do. eStar will play their game regardless. And now that you're looking at the bot side of the map, you've got the Varus and the Karma. That gives you decent wave clear. We said, hey, look, what they want is wave clear that can enable Flynn to go and farm in the side lane. You can have Xiaobai now with the counter pick come through, and they can really start to round out this composition.
Echo looking towards this Nautilus. I said it in the last draft as well. It's just the go-to for Mako. It's what he goes almost every single game. This Leona is a perfectly fine answer to the Nautilus as well. Xiaoxi, known for his Thresh, and Thresh is nice to have alongside of Varus as well to be able to reposition. But the Leona just gives them that solid engage option, because realistically, when you look at their composition, they don't have much engage.
They don't have much engage, but it's more so right now it seems like enabling Fun. Like, it's going to be a bunch of shields that are coming through, but I like that they went for the Leona. I think the Lulu would have just been a bit overkill, and having CC will enable Fun much more than just providing a whole bunch more shields on top of them. So at least now, when you look at eStar's composition, you've still got, you know, some solid poke coming through from the likes of this Karma, good engage, and being able to keep the likes of EDG at bay, because you've got the speed up from Karma, you've got the Chains of Corruption coming through from Varus, but when they feel like the time is right, they can turn on that engage tool through the Leona. So overall, eStar are waiting towards that later game portion where Fin can come online and take over the game. But for EDG, they've a very strong team fighting oriented composition, where when we get to, you know, the likes of the 20-minute mark where Azir's picked up a couple of items for himself, you'll be perfectly fine as EDG to continue taking these fights. And Scout on Azir is incredibly strong as well, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him coming out with quite an advantageous lane, especially if he goes towards some of the more aggressive summoner spells like the Comet or even that Hail of Blades to just try and punish Fun in these early lane stages.
Definitely want to get that casted out of the game if you possibly can. It's interesting that we do see Xiaobai taking this Karma to the top lane as well, because when you look across the roster from eStar, we've seen Xiaoxi play 3 games of Karma, we've seen Fun play 4 games of Karma, we've yet to see Xiaobai on the Karma in the top lane. So eStar definitely a team that utilizes this flex pick to the utmost of its abilities here. As we head towards game number 2, we'll see how the Karma's going to do up against the Renekton. But I'm definitely curious about Fun with that Kassadin in the mid lane. He has the carry potential, and he has been the guy to carry this team in the past.
Big question mark for eStar, especially when we want to look at how Wei can get rolling in these early stages. He can play through that bottom side of the map, especially when you've got the Varus and the Leona. You've got some decent damage, you've got a nice long-range poke, and I'd imagine that's where he's going to put his foot down, but we'll have to see if that is going to be the case for this squad.
We've got Renekton, which is always fun. There's a little rainbow keyboard. Well, the Colonel, he's liking the look of EDG. He's giving him a 3% edge.
Holy hot damn. That's a lot.
God, it's exciting, isn't it, Dagda? My goodness, I can barely contain myself. 1-0 so far in this series in favor of EDG. And eStar looking to answer. They've gone for a pure late-game composition. We've got a whole bunch of scaling on the side of EDG as well. But I'm hoping we get some early action regardless. JJ had such a strong game number 1. I want him to keep that momentum going.
I would have preferred, remember we were talking about for a Scout, I would have preferred actually if you'd taken the Hail of Blades or the Comet even in this lane, just to try and have a little bit more poke. But
wow, a lot of damage on Xiaoxi to start this one off. Looks like he's going to stick around though, as JJ now decides to answer going into this jungle. Will look to trade buffs.
Okay, so we're going to have a split map here, and honestly, I feel like this kind of favors EDG a little bit more. We said, hey, look, Wei, you want to try and play down towards this bottom side, because Xiaoxi can set you up super well into Hope, same with Wink is great follow-up damage, and even when you look at the Xiaoxi versus Mako matchup, the support advantage goes towards Xiaoxi, but now that you've split the map as Wei, you can only really play through this top side where Xiaoxi was already going to lose and push in. So it's not like you're going to add anything that much more to that top side.
Yeah, it really can be difficult to find any advantages. I mean, you got Graves Karma. It's not like you have a ton of lockdown necessarily, unless you can get this tether onto Xiaoxi. Xiaoxi already feeling the hurt. But this is the thing, right? Most of this lane is going to be spent underneath the tower. They pretty much have to dive to be able to take this Renekton down.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing here is maybe with the poke that Xiaoxi has taken, maybe we see Wei move up towards that top side, but right now he's got to be really cautious of sticking towards this mid lane, because Scout is doing a fantastic job of putting pressure on towards Fun.
Which is exactly what you would expect, right? We mentioned about laning runes like the Hail of Blades or the Comet. He's not gone for those. He has gone for the lethal tempo for the team fighting later on, but it does actually offer a good amount of damage in the laning phase as well.
I would have liked the Hail of Blades though, because you still get a decent amount of extra damage off in those team fights, because obviously you get the attack speed boost, but you're able to get a good amount of poke down into the lane on Fun and trying to force him out early. You can see how big of an advantage Scout has built up, but I mean, I think you could have done a little bit more with the Hail of Blades, but if FunFun isn't positioning correctly to work around these soldiers, well, you can see the results right now.
I mean, Kastin, he's never going to have a great time in this matchup. That's a lot of damage out of Xiaosheng. This might just be a solo kill. Xiaobai trying to get away. The root comes through. Wei going under the tower here. Xiaopeng flashes, but the jungle is there to answer. Nice job from Wei, and that was what we were talking about, was potentially we see that dive coming in from Wei when he's positioned up towards his top side and how much poke Xiaosheng had taken, but Wei is just like, right, I'm happy to go for this dive. Just flashes under the turret, gets through, and now just sends that minion wave straight into the turret on top side. Xiaosheng has to TP just to answer, just to grab this wave for himself. It was a valiant effort. He was able to use that W to shred the shield out of Xiaobai as well, but unfortunately for him, Wei was hanging around. This is exactly what we talked about with this split map towards the top side in favor of eStar. Does mean that Xiaosheng doesn't get to do anything in this lane phase.
And you can see how annoying this matchup is. Even when Xiaosheng gets on top of him, gets aggressive, and maybe can kill Xiaobai, you just get that empowered W, he heals up, he's totally fine, and there's nothing to do.
Scout playing with fire a little bit in this mid lane. You just got a little replay of that kill on the bottom left of your screen there, but we do have Mako and JJ moving in here. Scout is recalling in the meantime. So I don't anticipate they're actually looking for anything. Just going to try and contest the wave somewhat and stop this from being shoved in. Scout going to TP back in. And he's surely going to be furious at his jungle and support for taking 2 CS away from it.
Yeah, well, look, Scout is actually freezing the wave right now, which is really good, because what it means now is that FunFun will have to overextend now. FunFun is about to hit that level 6 mark. He's not that far off. It'll be about another minute and a half until he hits 6, so there's not really going to be much opportunity here for EDG to punish, but at least holding the wave here means Scout can continue to get this poke down and try and make FunFun's life, again, a living hell.
It's so difficult, but this is what you sign up for. When you're locking that castle in, you sign up for a rough laning phase. This is how the champion works. It's later on into the game that he's going to become an absolute menace. And Scout, as you mentioned before, that Emperor's Divide is not going to do anything to save you from the burst that FunFun will offer. So realistically, Scout has to get as much out of this early game as he possibly can, because FunFun will one-shot him later. It needs to give FunFun a reason to need revenge later.
There is an opportunity, though, in these early stages, because when FunFun hits 6, still a relatively long timer on that. Just watching the mini-map as I see Xiaobai moving up.
This is how this works, yeah.
But, yeah, I could just see Wei's hovering around here. You also got FunFun that started to move, so looks like he started trying to collapse on this top side. Even having Xiaoxi moving in towards the mid, so this is where he started trying to get real aggressive on this top side.
Wei grabs himself the Gromp, but that means the smite's going to be used onto Wei. Instead, Xiaosheng moving down as well. So is Scout. Wei has gone a little too far to try and make this play happen. Collateral damage goes wide, and that means Xiaosheng can finish off the kill. They're going to donate it over to Scout, giving the kills to the mid laner.
And it's the best port of call here, because Scout is the late game damage on EDG's side. When we talk about the team fights, it's Hope setting up as this utility style engage. JJ and Xiaosheng being the front line, being enabled by both the composition from eStar and the engage from Hope. But it's Scout who needs to provide the main source of damage. The faster you get him towards his items, the bigger impact he can have, and beat FunFun to taking over this game.
Great stuff here from EDG, and honestly great discipline from Xiaosheng as well. With how the laning phase has been going, he would have loved to have that extra 300 gold for himself, but understanding that realistically it's not about his items, it's about that mid lane. JJ needs to be a little careful though. With the slow from Sky Splitter, he'll get out with his life.
You can see how much JJ is struggling though. Level 6 already hit from Wei. You're still level 4 from JJ, and Wei was able to steal away the Gromp. Now he's moving in towards his top side as well to steal away even more camps. So JJ is not benefiting at all from this map split. Even though, in the grand scheme of things, Volibear does relatively well against Graves. You can clear at a super strong pace because of the Sky Splitter and your passive, but it's just Wei has been able to utilize the advantages from Xiaobai and also been able to move in towards his bottom side and take some of his camps before JJ can get over to the far side.
So far so good from Wei, and we did mention before, like, Wei has been one of the strongest junglers, or maybe not one of the strongest junglers in the league, but certainly has been one of the win conditions from eStar, not just in summer, but back in spring as well. Wei really was the guy setting up Krang and Wink to be the carries that they needed to be. And we're seeing that again here today with this Graves pick. And let's remember as well that, you know, Wei's played Graves 12 times this split. He loves this pick. He loves to have a carry in the jungle.
And that was where we always thought about Wei, right? Was, hey, look, even in spring, let's try and get Wei on towards something that he is carrying orientated with. Move in towards that bottom side, work with Wink and Chelsea to get the ball rolling from eStar. It was those 4-minute free mat and dives in the bottom lane that eStar were famous for. Now, they've moved away from that style, but still, this team is heavily reliant on Wei getting themselves rolling. But fortunately for themselves, he hasn't quite been able to have as big of an impact in summer as he did in spring, and that's why we do find them in 16th place, sitting at 3 and 12.
So we are going to see a trade across the map here. Dragon for Rift Herald. Dominus used by Xiaosheng. He realizes he's about to get dived. There is still a cannon underneath the tower, but once that goes down, Wei has to tank it. Xiaosheng with a really great read on this play, managing to clear the wave, managing to get out safe.
Yeah, pops the Dominus to help clear the wave. Obviously gets a punch of that Fury as well, which means he can clear it out. But his positioning has been really good as well. Constantly sitting behind his tower, so Wei actually can't damage him, which is why they're struggling so hard as eStar up here.
They are going to try and make the play happen anyway, though. Herald comes down here. And I think maybe Xiaosheng should have backed away from this one. Although, that's a lot of tower shots that these guys have taken at this point. Xiaobai going to be the one to try and make the play happen. But he's stunned underneath the tower, takes another shot. Wei goes back under. Will get out with his life here. And he'll be the one to finish off these plays.
Unfortunately, Xiaosheng couldn't quite get in behind cover, and it means the Wei will be able to get the kill, but good turnaround from the Croc to actually get a kill. And with all that time on the top, EDG will make plays in the box.
Now the answer, if this goes well, this is beautiful for EDG. Wink the target, Empress Divide into the wall. Xiaoxi will be the next one to fall, but JJ actually staying way too long. 2 for 1 so far. Can EDG back off?
Fun isn't the one that benefits from the kill, though. It's Xiaoxi who managed to pick up the kill in that engage. So overall, I'd be pretty happy with that as EDGs. They can now shove in this wave, back away, and spend their gold.
Importantly, though, those 4 plates that went the way of eStar on the top side of the map mean that that gold lead is very much firmly in their favor.
That is the case, but the big thing is the benefactors of that. Obviously, a lot of that went to Wei, which is going to be really, really strong for them. Xiaobai isn't going to be a massive impact with some of the gold that he's gotten, so we'll have to keep our eyes on Wei to see if he can carry heavily in this mid to the early stages of the late game, and then we can have Fun take over when he hits that level 6 mark. But we're still looking, especially with the pressure that Fun has had, not being able to pick up any of these early kills, only getting that assist. Hang on.
Doesn't have ult available, so Scout's just getting a lot of damage down, and it is a lot of damage. Fun forced away here. Xiaoxi's waiting off in the wings. Doesn't have Hex Flash. Doesn't have normal flash either for that matter, but he's got a Zenith plate. Gets over the wall here to start the fight. Scout gets out with his life, and Mako's now arriving, who's going to go in. The rest of his team is not that nearby, but that shot keeps him safe for a moment. Stopwatch going to be used. Fun baited in, flashes out with his life. So does Mako as Xiaoxi goes back into the play. It's Wei the target now. JJ goes down. Mako's jumped back into the play, but somehow survives as Scout is cleaning everybody up.
That was messy. It was not the way I expected that fight to go, but Scout does manage to pick up a double kill, and Fun, you can't hold on to this turret either. You're way too low for this.
Oh, is he though? Flash, or not flashes in, Void walks in. Rift Walk, that's the one. 4 kills though on Scout right now. 4-0-1.
And that's what I wanted to highlight, was Fun is still getting to these late game stages. It's going to be 28 to 30 minutes before we really see Fun having that big impact. But when we look at Scout, Scout has got the level advantage. He's got 4 kills. He's got that 20 CS lead for himself as well. Scout is massive, and he's already got that Nashor's Tooth complete. So don't be surprised when you see Scout in these later game fights absolutely taking over, because you already see the damage he's churning out in this fight. It's only going to ramp up from here.
And this was so close to going disastrously from EDG. Scout able to clean it up in the end. Mako barely got out of that one with his life. Yeah, Hope now in trouble. Cleanses out of the play, and now they're trying to get onto Wei themselves as they slow down Xiaoxi. Scouts TP'd in, as is Xiaobai, as is Xiaosheng. Everybody's arriving on the play. Empress Divide to keep Wei in the action as Xiaoxi will go down elsewhere in the play. 2 kills for EDG.
And eStar just can't keep up. EDG are collapsing everywhere. They want to get more of these plates, but a minute left. Mako, you're on the wrong side.
Yeah, there are no minions here. Mako doesn't have flash. He might just drop. A misread on the play from EDG. And that's really going to ruin the tempo that they just built up.
It's not the end of the world, though. EDG will still be able to back. You got 50 seconds until that dragon, and that just gives them enough time for them to get back out on the map, try and get control of this river once again, and then pick up that second dragon for themselves. But like, this is a lot of gold that has just been invested towards the side of EDG. So hope not quite towards the Blade of the Rune King. We said the Nash's Tooth completed for a scout. He's got his Sork boots on top of that as well, and we're still waiting on Xiaoshang to complete that black.
Scout is massive right now. 5-0-1. He's got himself the Nash's Tooth you mentioned before. Now he's got a Fiendish Codex, as well as finishing those boots off. And never underestimate quite how big of a boost in damage those boots are for mages in the mid lane. He is going to be monstrous in these next few fights. And we've got a Drake spawning now that EDG are happy to start off. There's a Rift Herald spawning in under a minute as well. Oh my goodness. Already Wei just getting bullied out. And bear in mind, Wei's the guy that's fed on the side of eStar. He can't go near Scout.
And don't forget, Scout also took the later game rune as well in that lethal tempo. We were saying, hey, you know, if you're looking at the lane, it's the Hail of Blaze, it's going to be that Comet. But it has been Scout going straight towards these late game fights. So he's completely set up to take over when we get to those fights.
And look at this as well. EDG, they're like, look, we're going to play towards Herald next anyway. Let's lane swap. Get Scout in this lane on the top side, as he's absolutely insane right now. Maybe can 2v1, but he's going to need to, because Wei's moved in. Emperor's Divide pushes him under the tower, but it's Wei tanking. They both get away with their life for now. EDG fighting on the bottom side of the map. Xiaoxi going in onto Mako. It's 1-for-1 as Wink and Hope just praying for crits right now. Neither of them have any crit, though, and it means Wink wins the fight.
And Wink is able to take him down with that arrow as well, because Hope, unable to dodge away from the Q, means that he will fall. So you start getting a couple kills back. Funfun, the benefactor of that top lane turret as well. So eStar, can't count them out just yet. They've got a 3,000 gold lead.
Yeah, and you know, I take it back. I said I liked that Scout had stopped to the top lane. In my head, it was like, all right, well, they could just have nicer lane matchups. But I didn't factor in the fact that Wei was immediately going to jump under the tower and just annihilate it.
I honestly thought that we'd see Scout go aggressive quicker. I thought he'd try and shove Xiaobai underneath the turret, like, as this play is kicking off, but here we go. This is the play on the bottom side where Xiaoxi, so this is where we start to see the big difference between the Leona and the Nautilus, and why Leona is so favored. She is so much tankier than her opponent that even when she gets caught out first, even though it takes time for Wink to get across, able to buy enough time with the stopwatch, has the W, has the Aftershock, and you just can't get through Leona as quickly as you can get through Mako, who only has, yes, the Aftershock, but the shield just doesn't compare to how many raw stats you get off of the Leona.
And I love that Wink drops the emote at the end of that play as well. It's the little Caitlyn sipping a cup of tea. He's quite happy with the back of that 1v1, which ultimately was just down to who has more attack speed at this point in the game, who has better base stats. We've just witnessed Scout just not move, just stand and auto-attack a tower down from 100 to 0, which was weirdly satisfying to watch. From Xiaobai now, going to get a root onto Xiaoshang at the bottom side of the map. Wei hates this Renekton in this game. Has to jump away from the tower. The root's not going to land. Xiaoshang surviving, at least for now. But they can go for round 2 in just a second here. Xiaoshang is trying to find a way out of the play. Jumps in onto Wei. Instead, he was away into the play. Brings one down. And now onto Xiaobai as well. No way can he turn this one around. Dodges away from the Q, but he's run out of health. Somehow surviving. Flash forward from Xiaobai to finish him off. But that was beautiful from Xiaoshang.
Well played, Xiaoshang. And this is what I was saying. This is the EDG top laner that is really making a name for himself now in summer. And why I've placed him so highly in my list of top laners. Like, I currently have him with 6. I may need to move him up a little bit more.
Mate, I'd say he's well worthy of 5th at this point. I don't know who's above him. I'm not even going to try and step into tier list. That is not my domain. But you know what? That was beautiful. And even with the Black Cleaver build as well that we regularly see here in the LPL. And it's good to see that he's able to step up, especially when Wei has put so much focus onto trying to shut him down. It's great to see that he's only 15 CS down.
Exactly, and obviously the goal that you can see in the left-hand side of the screen is heavily in favor of Xiaobai, but that's because of turret plates, that's because the structures that have been going over towards Xiaobai. But the thing is, again, what we were saying earlier on, Xiaobai is not going to be the carry. The 3 carries on this squad right now are Wei, Funfun, and Wink. And although Wei is benefiting quite a lot, I would have preferred to see some of this gold going over towards Wink, over towards Funfun in particular, and trying to set up what is your late game win condition. Now you've got Xiaobai, who's got yeah, an Iceborne Gauntlet and a Athenes. It's going to be super hard to kill this Karma, but that doesn't matter. You still have to worry about the rest of your team that Scout is going to tear through now that he has the Oblivion Orb completed as well, and that Fiendish Codex to give him a bit of CDR and make sure he's able to reposition these soldiers just right for the fights.
The one scary thing I will say, though, is that FunFun's now level 11. He finished his Rod of Ages a few minutes ago, getting towards the Seraphs as well. We are going to start to head towards Kassadin points in the game in about sort of 10 minutes time, I would say.
Yeah, it'll be 10 minutes really before we start to see him start to get massive. Because he's only just picked up the tier. He's still going to be working towards the Archangel Staff. There's still a lot of time before he does become a menace.
But the thing about that is, we got a Drake up in 25 seconds. If EDG can get this and get themselves to Soul Point, they might be able to get a Mountain Soul before he ever gets to the Kassadin zone, as we'll call it.
And that's why these late game comps can struggle a little bit, is especially if you're going to double down on the super late game, like with a Kog'Maw or a Kassadin, is that you end up giving over so much control in these early stages that teams that can play through that advantage.
Shousey just sidesteps everything. And now it's Mako that's going to pay for this one with his life. Goes down to the Ignite. Scout trying to answer onto the support. Shousey gets away with his life, though, and JJ forced out of the play. And that might mean that this Mountain Drake does not go the way of EDG. That might mean that eStar can stop that stall coming on through, can stop that win condition. FunFun going into the play. Scout drops a tower for himself. And now looking for Xiaobai as well. Empress Divide separating from the team. JJ arrives as well. And it's Hope to finish this one off on top of everything else. Now Wei stepping forward, but in comes the Renekton into 3, has a whole bunch of sustain and finishes 1 kill off, but he's trades it for his own life. FunFun trying to finish people. Hope flashing out for safety. JJ, I don't know why he went in there because he did not have the health to do it. Wei's gone too far. In goes Scout. That was beautiful.
And it's going to net him the quadra kill as well. Scout is 9-1-2. He is taking over this game, and EDG will eventually get this dragon for themselves, but so well played from the backline of EDG.
That was such an elongated, messy fight, but Scout just picking each and every single kill off. A great Empress Divide to start it off, and a great little Concrete Sands to finish it.
And this is where Azir shines, is when you've got two carries like Wei and Wink, super short range, that can't really close the gap onto Scout. He's able to just hover out of distance and being able to play around all that auto attack range coming through from the Graves and the Bars. So great Emperor's Divide to start things off. It also funnels eStar's here, so Xiao Shun can get in. Scout once again aggressive forward. FunFun tries to make things work, but look how much damage is coming out. And then here, Scout does a great job of just playing on the edge of Wink and Wei's range, where when Wei goes in, great, I'm not an auto attack range, I'm totally fine. And once he gets that shield back up, once Wink is taken low enough, flings himself in and manages to get the quadra kill.
That was so sick from Scout at the end there. And the thing is that basically the entire quadra kill was done on 200 HP. He'd already lost all of his HP at the start of the play, but beautiful stuff out of Scout. And just look at the scoreline, 9-1-2.
And we've also got to give a shout out to Hope there. He did a lot of work in that scenario, but Wink, I don't know if you can take this 1v1.
Apparently he's going to try. I don't know what he expected, to be honest. Well, at least they're going to be able to answer. That's a big old bounty going towards FunFun, but Wink maybe a little early on the play there. Now Xiao Shun going to be rooted, but jumps back into the play. In goes Volibear as well, and there goes the Kassadin. CC for days across the rest of the team, and that's going to be Wei falling. Xiao Shun finally rewarded for the rough early game with a double kill, and this opens up Baron.
And that's going to be Baron. They've got plenty of damage to take this down. You've got the Blade of the Rune King on the Ashe. They can work through this. All you've got is Xiaobai, who is going to be looking for a Miracle Steal, but JJ has his smite. It shouldn't go across.
Yeah, I mean, surely there's no way Xiaobai steals this one. This would be the way to keep eStar in the game. Bear in mind, gold-wise, they are only 2,000 gold down, so this is very doable for eStar still, but with a TP coming out from Scout, that is going to guarantee the Baron. That is going to be taken down, and EDG, they want an extra pick on top of everything else. Xiaobai so damn low, slice and dice, another kill for Scout.
And how many times are we going to see Scout just take over games? We saw it on his Akali in their last game against V5. We see it now against eStar again.
What is Wink doing? Wink, you're not the tank. You're not the engage. I don't get it.
I think Wink is overestimating greatly how good his health bar is. We saw it in game number 1. starting to see the sneak in game number 2 as well. Either way, though, great fight from EDG. Even Scout down. FunFun can't do anything. Xiaobai's out of the engagement. Wei's a non-factor at this stage.
That was like the perfect example of, you know, those games where you've been so focused on your lane that you've never really hit tab. You've never really checked how the other laners are doing. You go for a 1v1 because you're kind of fed, and then you hit tab afterwards and you realize they've got 11 kills. Yeah. And you're like, oh, that's why I just got absolutely destroyed. Except on top of it, you're also a Varus with 2 items, so I don't know, like, it's not like you're super strong anyway, so I don't know. I'm just trying to give him the benefit of the doubt here, Dagda.
I do want to... Oh, actually, going to hang on to a point here.
Wei's in trouble here. A lot of damage coming on through. Oh. It ended as quickly as it started.
And that's what I wanted to point out was Wei's build. I understand where he's coming from with the lethality build. We say, hey, look, he needs to be the mid-game bridge to get towards where FunFun's strong, where Wink is able to be this on-hit Varus. But honestly, with how fed he was, I wanted to see him go for a Black Cleaver, get tanky, even if he wants to add an IE into that build. But now he's just super squishy, gets caught out, and ends up giving advantages to EDG.
In the meantime, eStar just committed 4 people to try and shut down Xiaosheng on the bottom side of the map, and EDG with Baron both were like, okay, sure, we'll have a mid-inhib, no worries. Now they go back to this bottom lane. Xiaosheng survived with his flash, they get a tier 2 on top of it.
And EDG are just going to keep shoving. Scout is going to be very, very strong under this turn. Already setting up his minions to see if anyone comes close enough, he can send those soldiers in to poke them down. Look, this is a clinic from EDG, and in game number 2, they're looking to keep this sweep going that they've been on for the last 3 series.
So, we've got 30 seconds until this Mountain Drake we were talking about a minute ago, Dagda, or more than a minute ago. And FunFun. He's got 10 stacks on his Rod of Ages, but he ain't level 16, and he definitely ain't finished stacking that Seraphs, which means he is not at Omega Kassadin mode just yet. However, if JJ jumps in by himself and commits suicide before the Dragon, maybe eStar can win it. Solar Flare across the team. Good little Q in from Wink as well. EDG pretty low before this fight ever begins. But I think they might just have the gold lead to pull it off anyway.
They do need a front line, though. And with Xiaosheng, JJ below half health, Mako can't really provide that as a Nautilus either. So if eStar tried to engage, maybe it could work.
Time for a 50-50. It goes the way of eStar, but Xiaoxi sacrifices his life for the Drake. Now into the team fight as FunFun trying to tank up. I don't know why he's gone that deep, and there's an Emperor's Divide as well. Scout, in case he needed any more highlight reels, grabs himself another triple.
There we go, EDG find the kills, they find the, well, they don't find the Dragon, but looks like they'll be able to crack open this base. Minions are streaming in. You got 20 seconds that time.
They're okay without the Dragon because they could just end the game. And I would say a win is probably slightly better than a
I don't know,
battle,
I personally prefer the Dragon. Like, who needs to end games?
Look, all I'm saying is EDG, they realize it is time for some pizza, it is time for some beer, and it is time for some Simpsons here. Xiaoxi, there's nothing he can do about this one. Game number 2, going the way of EDG, and a dominant series for the veterans of the LPL.
Incredibly well played, and from the veteran member of EDG as well. And Scout putting on an absolute clinic on this Azir. We said he loves to play it, saw it locked in early, and he showed exactly what you can do, even with FunFun trying to counterpick this Kassadin. It was easy. Scout just played so well this game.
Beautiful stuff out of Scout. I mean, we got to see a quadra kill, a triple kill.